body cannot experience anything, nor can it experience even being anything. Can't even experience it. It cannot experience pain and announce it to the infinite. Why, of course not. It cannot. A misconception of body itself, a misconception of body itself cannot experience pain or announce it. Nothing but a misconception. To the infinite, to the uncreated body that you are. See this? Can't be done. Now, what has a supposedly temporary life or an assumed born body to do with the eternal life? Eternal life. Now, this is an assumed born body we're talking about. What has a supposedly temporary assumed born body to do with the eternal life, which is the eternal body that you are? Nothing. Nothing at all. What has a suppositional substance, supposedly born consciousness, because that's a supposition, a so-called created body to do with the genuine substance, the genuine infinite consciousness that is this eternal, changeless, perfect body that you are? Nothing. I'm going to say this. I think it's the most wonderful thing. That these notes were coming through. I was absolutely convinced, you know. Well, I can't, because I don't try to think them out or anything else. I just write, you know. But I did not dream that they were going to lead to what has been revealed here this morning. I didn't dream they were going to lead to it. It is only the supposition or born identity that is concerned about the supposedly born body. It's only a supposition or born identity that's concerned about a born body or an assumptive little non-existent I. What has the infinite I am vision? No. Because all vision is infinite vision. All vision sees everywhere. All vision is aware of seeing everywhere. You know, conscious vision is but the consciousness of being vision everywhere. This is what conscious vision is. What has the infinite I am vision to do with the supposedly born eyes? Why, for heaven's sake, what could it have to do with supposedly born eyes? Or their assumed vision? What has the supposedly born eyes to do with the eternal, perfect eye vision that you are? Nothing at all. What has infinite, unconfined vision to do with supposedly limited, confined, assumed vision? Want me to say that again? What has infinite, unconfined vision to do with supposedly limited, confined, assumed vision? The infinite I am vision that you are does not see through a glass darkly. This infinite complete vision needs no help from an assumptive vision in order to see. Needs no help from an assumptive vision in order to see. Supposedly born eyes cannot displace the perfect eye. supposedly born vision cannot displace the perfect vision that you are. Now, right where the displacement may seem to be, there is a vision, infinite vision that you are. Because the vision you are is infinite omnipresence. You are everything that you see. You realize it. This is what comes through so clearly in illumination, in one aspect of illumination. No matter what you see, you are that. That is you. That's why you can't see anything from a distance, you see, because there isn't anything distant. There isn't any distance. You are everywhere that you see. You are everything that you see. Everything that you see is you. That's it. You are no more it than it is you. So you being over it or is something like that. No. It's like that beautiful tree I love so much. I've learned far more from that tree than I could ever teach it. I'll tell you, really and truly, because that tree is just as aware of being all there is of me as I am of being all there is of that tree. I know I may do sound like some kind of a something or other, but now that wasn't it personally. Oh dear. Well, anyway, now the infinite, because the vision you are is infinite omnipresence. You are everything that you see. It's a matter of distinction, you see. But the infinite vision that you are sees everywhere. How well I know that. The infinite vision that you are sees everywhere. But that which it sees, it knows itself to be. The infinite vision that you are sees as a very substance, sees by being, the very substance, form, and activity of that which you see. That's how far you are from infinity. That's how far you are from the moon, Mars, Venus. That's how far. In short, the vision that you are sees from everywhere, because it is the conscious substance that it sees everywhere. This is why I think it's a marvelous thing. Our courageous and wonderful astronauts and all, certainly tremendous, and I love them, believe me. But I will welcome the days when they all realize that they don't have to go anywhere in order to be anywhere. Because you see, the consciousness, there isn't any there. The consciousness is already there. Only it isn't there, it's here. No matter if it's Mars, it's here, you see. And so, well, I'll tell you one thing, those boys kept me very busy. They're going to have to stop this thing, all right? Really and truly. I would like to repeat that last statement because we're going to another subject, and that which this consciousness that you are sees. It knows itself to be. Now the infinite vision that you are sees as a very substance, form, and activity, because it is, the infinite vision that you are is the very substance, form, and activity that it sees, you see. In short, the vision that you are sees from everywhere, because it is the conscious substance that it sees, the consciousness, the substance that it sees everywhere. And it is aware of being all the substance, the form, and the activity of all that it sees. Now the next would be an entirely new subject. So I think you've had about all you can take, and I've had about all I can take. I do want to continue something. You know what we were discussing this morning. Now there are some of you here tonight who were not here this morning. So we will, I won't go into it in any depth, but we will briefly sketch a little bit of what we were seeing this morning. The reason I wish to do that is that I don't wish to break the continuity of it. It should not be broken. We suddenly had a tremendous revelation this morning of how it is and why it is that it is a possible thing for this body right here to remain alive instead of having to die. And then that'd be the end of it. I'm sorry I can't go into all the details, but it was based on that chapter of the first volume of the 1966 class that's entitled The Boundless Ocean of Living Light, remember. And then we realized that the body itself of anyone is merely a focalization of this infinitude, of this infinite ocean of light, focalized, but that while the body is always new, it's an always new body, but it's always the same body. It's always the same substance. Why? Because the ocean that constantly is the newness of this body is always the same water. It's not a different water, because it is this body, if you know what I mean. It's the same substance. It remains the same substance. So this body is an ever new body. And it is no more the same body that is supposed to be born than is the sun and the moon, as it came out this morning. It cannot be, because all the time, countless times, if you want to call it that this body has been, well, we'll say renewed, that the living ocean of light itself has been the newness of this body, and it is going on this moment. Of this body, and it is going on this moment. So, the body that seems to be born as a baby is not the body of the one who is, more mature, we'll say. I don't like to go into this too much, But it is not the bodies that we are experiencing right here and now are not the same substance. It is the same body that was supposed to be born. Now, I believe that's as far as I'm going to go, excepting to say that this is the reason why. Because this body is an uncreated body, then, because in the ocean, being the ever newness that is this body, it is not creating the body, you see. It does not create the body by being the ever newness of the body. You can see that, can't you? Yes? No? Well, anyway, this is why we have to say that God is not a creator, you see. When God is the thing itself, we call this a thing. When God is the thing itself constantly, then he is not creating it, you see. He did not create, he is not a creator, you see. So, now, then, this is why this body being ever new, being an uncreated body, a body that is not created does not have to die. Why? Because it never was born. That's the thing. Now, another thing, to continue here briefly, you know, this isn't very easy now to go as far as this. They might send the little men in the white suits for me. But now I said that we did not create. It is impossible for man to create man. If God does not create man, how can man create man? Now, we said, too, that we did not create these bodies of these children, and so forth. Now then, this does not mean that we do not love these children. Not at all. We expect these children to love us, and they do love us. And most of by far, the greater extent of those who as we call young people today, do love their parents, and their parents love them. And so, of course, we love these children, and they love us. We were speaking this morning of the bodies, you see. That's the thing. That's the thing. I doubt that you will find greater love anywhere than there is in our family, really. And yet, there is no illusion about having created or given birth even to this one that I call my daughter, you see. So certainly, but yet I cared for her and I loved her and I still do, and nursed her through all sorts of illnesses before I knew things that I know now. And but it has been and is a perfectly beautiful thing, really. But and there is freedom in this. There's absolute freedom in this. It's a nice thing. So I didn't mean to give the impression that because we realize that we did not create these children, that we can just push them aside and say, oh well, I'm not responsible for them or anything like that. Because it isn't that kind of thing, not at all. But we must recognize the fact that just as surely as we insist that we created these bodies, then we're going to have to say that these bodies are going to die. Now, and which one? Loving the one he calls his child, or her child, would not fight for the life of that child to the last bit. You see this, and this is true. So, we have to face that. But of course, love always acts just like love. No other way. Now I've expounded about enough on that. I do know that we are going farther with this. I know that there'll be more, it's a purpose now, that there'll be more revealed on this during our our symposium here. But for the time being, I think we can drop it and let it percolate a little bit. So, that's what they say you have to do to make good coffee, isn't it? Well, here we go. Now, I did want to tell you the subject that we're going into now is awareness of being. We've spoken of this subject, many times. But this, of course, we have these same revelations, but always the revelations are greater, even though on the same subject. You can see how this would be. But I thought you'd be interested to know something. I had word yesterday, I believe, or day before, of a woman a student who lives in Canada, in eastern Canada, and she's opening, this thrills me, she's opening a school for children from 3 to 5 years old. And what do you think is the name of the school? Awareness of being. Awareness of being. Now, isn't that wonderful? Now, there's no limiting those children, is there? I think that's a wonderful thing. Now, let's go from here. Now, when I speak of God, and when don't I speak of God? But when I speak of God, I'm not speaking of God ever as though God were something separate or someone separate or other than the being that you are, that I am, that everyone is. We have to be what God is, or we are not anything at all. But we have to start this in this way. Now, there isn't anyone that knows anything but God. Not anyone. Now, you know something, don't you? Don't we all? Well, who is the I that knows these things? So, there isn't anyone that knows anything but God. There isn't anyone that knows itself to be anything but God. There isn't anyone but God that is anything. There is no awareness of being anything or anyone other than God, conscious of being God. And this, beloved, is our only awareness of being. I must tell this to you. You notice frequently here I read the word beloved. It's an interesting thing the way this comes in. I haven't anything to do with it, you know. It just comes. But as these words come through, there's such a great sense of love. And you know, I love you. I mean, I love everyone, for that matter. But I mean, I love you when the ones I'm preparing the class for, particularly at that moment. You see, I feel this love. This happens in the Word too, if you notice. I believe it was in the July Word. I had so many, or June, I don't know. But I had so many reports that there was such great love in that Word. I'm not the least bit surprised, because as it was coming through, this great sense of loving everyone, not just separating them, you understand, but loving everyone that was to read those words. Do you see what I mean? I guess in old Orthodoxy they'd call it a blessing. I don't know. I don't care much about blessings, really, not in that sense. But nonetheless, there is that feeling. I thought I'd explain that. Now, I'm going to go back because I have interrupted myself here. There isn't anyone but God that is anything. There is no awareness of being anything or anyone other than God, conscious of being God. And this, beloved, is our only awareness of being. Now, all of us are of this same awareness of being. We couldn't know that we existed otherwise. And this is God aware of being God. This means infinite, eternal, constant perfection, being eternally, constantly perfect. Want me to read that again? This means infinite, eternal, constant perfection, being eternally, constantly perfect. Now this is your awareness of being. Really. Omni-action is God, aware of being all activity. Omni-action is God, aware of being perfect, of being intelligent, purposeful activity. This is the only awareness of activity there is. All of us are active. Every one of us, we're all active. Well, where in the world, how could we be active as something separate from all of the activity there is, that is this universe in action? How could we act on our own little independent, separate nothingness? We can't. We can't really. Every step you take, every breath, every heartbeat, everything. It's not, it's not this little thing here doing it all by its little lonesome atoll. It's the whole infinitude. It's your whole awareness, unlimited awareness that you exist. And it's active, it's constantly active, as all of the activity that goes on here. All of us are active, so all of us have to be this perfect, infinite, intelligent, purposeful activity. And incidentally, there is no activity that is not for the fulfillment of a definite purpose. All activity, it wouldn't be intelligent otherwise, all activity is purposeful activity, truly. Now God, aware of being all, our awareness of being complete, is our awareness of being complete. You know, we spoke about this word completeness and how important it is. Well now, our very awareness of being complete is this infinite all, the principle, the absolute truth, God, completeness, being our awareness of being complete. In all ways, you see. No one ever really sees another. Can't separate it. No one ever really sees another. Can you see how this is? You can only see yourself.
I hope you enjoy this spiritual audio. Like, share and subscribe for more.